So, on the 27th of September 2020, Angel Lynn fell from a transit van travelling at 60 miles per hour. This was following being bundled into that van by her then boyfriend, knobhead Chaz Boskill. Now, this sickens me. I hadn't previously heard of that, despite it not being too far from where I am. But it appears that this little boy, I'm going to call him little boy, and his friend Rocco had bundled this 19-year-old girl into a transit following an argument. So basically kidnapped her. Coercive behaviour, kidnap. Put her in a van, and yes, she's indeed fallen out of that van on the A6 near Loughborough. And it would appear that she has got out of that van. So you think for somebody to be in the mindset that they've got to get out of that van, you can imagine that at that stage they were very, very fearful. You know, I'd be quite apprehensive of jumping out of a van at 60 miles an hour. And that's if she did jump. We just don't know because there's no footage that completely confirms how she came to get out of that van. Only the statements of those others who were in the van at the time. So this young girl is kind of survived by her family. Now, she's not dead, don't get me wrong, but some may argue that she is now facing a life worse than death. She suffered catastrophic brain injuries that has now left her in a position where her family have to give her around-the-clock care. She can't speak, she can't communicate, she can't eat for herself and do all of those things that many of us take for granted. Anything that she was planning to do in the future has gone, has been erased. So this girl's life and her family's lives have changed forever. So what have these two got off the back end of that? And before I tell you what they got, so were they remorseful? Well, Rocco claims that the situation has ruined his life. Ruined his fucking life. And knobhead Boskill, he kind of showed no remorse whatsoever, was seen to smirk in court, lied himself in court, tried to get his mum to lie in court, and she'd already lied to cover her, and subsequently as well, she has defended him, saying that he's not a bad boy. Not a bad boy. If he ain't a bad boy, I'd hate to think what she think bad boys do. Because I would say that picking your 19-year-old girlfriend up, throwing her in the back of a van, for her to then fall out at 60 miles per hour and have catastrophic injuries that destroys her and her family's lives, I'd say that's quite bad. But she obviously doesn't think so. But we'll leave that there. So this girl's family have now got to pick up the pieces. There has been pictures of this little boy brandishing hunter's knives and knuckle dusters like he's fucking Rambo. So this is the mentality of person that we're working with. And what did the legal system deem as a appropriate sentence? Now, bearing in mind, he could have got life. He could have got life. And there have been situations of kidnap and these similar things where people have got severely long sentences. Life-changing sentences. Well, he got 7.5 years. But he will serve half of that minus time already served. So he will basically be out in June 2024. So he's got just over a couple of years of his sentence remaining. And his friend Rocco, he got just under 2 years. Now, bearing in mind that kidnap does hold a minimum sentence of 18 months. That's the absolute minimum. So this Rocco actually only got 6 months more than the absolute minimum. And this girl has got a life sentence trapped inside a broken body. She has a little sister who now has the devastating life of watching as she stares at monitors and watching this big sister of hers struggle to fight the injuries, with her blood pressure dropping, her heart rate's dropping, listening out for those dreaded alarms when things are not as they should be. So that's the sentence that the family got. And this is the sentence that Knobhead and his friend Rocco got. They were the sentences that our government, our justice system, deemed appropriate. Now, I always thought that they said the punishment has to fit the crime. So, in what fucking world does this punishment fit the crime? We've seen over the last few hours an abundance of cases where the terms given to these people are not befitting the crime. And this is the problem. This is why we're seeing the things happen that we're seeing happen. And I just feel so sorry for Lynn and the rest of the family who are left to pick up the pieces of this poor girl's life. And I do hope that one of two things happen. And that is that either this case gets reviewed and they get the sentence that they deserve in the first place, or in some other twist of fate, something happens that they do end up getting what they deserve. Time will tell, and I will keep my fingers crossed until then.